Kafue, and I'm running the PPCR Zambia and the Triad projects. I have the passion for women and the youth especially, so that any empowerment which goes to uplift them out of any form of poverty, or to ensure that the women get the best they can from the economic activities and social activities, and now more prominently environmental issues, and it's going to make a difference in their communities, I jump on such. So working with that on the PPCR really gave me the edge to be part of the Changemakers project. The impact is seen through our approach, which is participatory in nature, where we don't leave anyone. We take into account cultural perspectives when we're on the ground working with the communities. So the women who definitely are part and parcel of the thinking process which goes on. So where they collectively map out their own agenda, what are the climate risks, they identify them, how are these risks affecting the various, the males and the females, and then together they come up with solutions, possible solutions to those gender issues, to the identified problems. So in so doing, when solutions to problems are identified collectively with the communities, even the interventions ensure that the women activities are taken into account. One of the most critical things that has been affecting our communities in the climate change aspect has been water related. Long distances to water points. The women usually would have to wake up as early as 04 to go and collect water for household consumption and for economic activities. The girl child would drop out of school. But having been working with the communities where they identified this as a climatic risk, and then they responded using a gender lens to ensure that as we respond to this climatic challenge, we don't just look at providing water for economic activities, which the men take advantage of. The women also looked at providing water for household use and ensuring that the distances to water points are nearer. The nutrition aspects came in because now they can have all-year-round vegetable consumption or food, small ruminants, poultry, which they are running because now they've got access to water. So in that way, I've seen that having a gender lens in the way we respond to climatic issues, and especially working with the communities together, has a greater impact, because even when now the project may not be there, the lessons that I've learned in coming up with interventions for problems, they go a long way to inform other activities that they're doing. Secondly, communities are then, when they identify the solutions, they work with the local NGOs in their areas whom they're familiar with, so that they continue to ensure that the gender aspects that they built on, that they used to respond to as they formed the projects, do get into to be continued and be expanded upon. Thank you. The various players, the stakeholders have been one, government organizations. Zambia is a Christian nation, so we cannot leave out the church in this agenda. So the church organizations working with the communities, the traditional leadership, it's very strong in our country. There's non-government organizations working, all these, there are committees that are formulated, that are led by various personalities in the various districts and communities. These come up on board to help the communities achieve this. And again, at community level, they've got their own community leaders, some politically inclined, others just for developmental issues where they have set themselves up. But all these come together. In the quarterly meetings, they would have monthly meetings to discuss progress or issues that are affecting them. And that has made it easier that everybody else gets to understand and appreciate how the gender risk assessment and how the programming of climate response with a gender lens is taking shape in Zambia. For me, one thing, had we not included the integrated gender risk assessment, in community sensitizations at the beginning of each project and throughout project implementation, I feel would never have achieved much. So the inclusion of the integrated gender risk assessment in all these things that we've been doing at project inception throughout project implementation has been key to achieving what we've achieved. What we did is to have the guidelines of how you go about to undertake a gender risk assessment. Then we trained district officials, these are government staff, but those who work with communities in community mobilization, such as community development officers, forestry officers, and also the camp extension officers who live in the communities. Nonetheless, we found that that is not going to be adequate because these are government staff and they're overloaded with so much work, they may not have all the time to be with the communities. So we ensure that the tool on the integrated gender risk assessment is also shared with the non-governmental organizations that were assigned to work with the various communities to help them come up with the proposals, to help them understand and appreciate that if we're going to respond to the climate change, this is very important for people to understand, to walk through. So they would make them sit at a community place of their own choice, could be under a big tree where they have their community meetings, and ask them various questions which would start to relate how has life changed over the past 20 years. And the elders in the group would say, when 20 years ago, the rainfall pattern would be like this, or the temperatures would check them to be like this around June, July. However, we've noticed a shift to this. And then we've noticed that there are certain types of flowers which should blossom around September, October. We no longer get to see that. So we've been wondering what has happened. Or the water, so many things would come out and they would speak to so many things being facilitated through by these non-government organizations and sometimes accompanied by government officers. The reason we use the non-government organizations because frequently they had more time to spend with the communities and they work much more often with the communities. So they know each other, they're familiar with them, they understand their culture, their norms. So they'll be able to get out so much from them and also be able to prompt where they feel they haven't really come out to address the issues that are supposed to be, or when they are holding themselves up. So we found that to be very helpful of using the non-government organizations.